What is up, everybody? Matt Moda here to give you my favorite NFL player prop picks. We're talking Sunday, week 12, November 24th. I can't believe we're already on the week 12. I say that every week. The way we're going to play this week's games, I have 4 players that we are backing at this current moment in time, 2 of which we are laddering to pretty juicy odds. The reason why I say this current moment in time is because there are a couple plays, couple angles that I really like that we don't currently have odds for. So as of right now, I'm recording this on Friday afternoon. These are the only bets that I have locked in. What you see on this YouTube channel are the only bets that I have locked in. What I'm going to do is on Sunday morning, head back in the lab before my live stream I do at 11 a.m. every morning. See if we have odds finally out for all those plays that I like, and then send out a couple more. So anything that you don't see here on YouTube, and I do lock in, will be sent out to Twitter on Sunday morning, and everything gets first sent out to my Dub Club. So that's the most important thing. If you want to get everything, check out the Dub Club. Link to that is in the description of the video as well as a pinned comment. Enough of that. Before we get into the picks, I do want to do a quick recap from Thursday, which did not go our way. I just had the wrong read in that game. I thought that offense was going to be a lot harder to come by with the snow and all that stuff. So my Najee Harris bet was pretty much dead from the jump. It was a much better game for Jaylen Warren. So lost that one, down a unit on Thursday. That continues a little bit of a rough stretch that we are on from week 11 and now Thursday Night Football week 12. But take a step back. It's still been a very, very good. I'm very pleased with the season that we are having so far. We're up over 24 units on the season. And more importantly, we're up over 21% ROI on the season as well. 2 very, very good numbers. It's never fun to be in the midst of a cold streak, but I'm very confident that we're going to get ourselves out of it. Hopefully, starting with these picks for Sunday. Hopefully, starting with our first pick that we're locking in, Bucks versus Giants. I'm taking Theo Johnson over 21.5 receiving yards, minus 110 odds at bet 365. Ton of news coming out of New York at this current moment in time. The biggest thing is Daniel Jones was benched and then released. So it's going to be Tommy DeVito, or Danny DeVito, as I like to call him, starting at least this game, probably the remainder of the regular season for the Giants. And then we also probably don't have Malik Neighbors in this game as well. Now, before I hit record, I checked to make sure that we still had odds, and we did. So hopefully books don't take down odds for Theo Johnson by the time you're watching this, because right now they're currently available. In terms of the play itself, I will admit it does not feel great backing Tommy DeVito. It's not like Daniel Jones was any good as well. That's why he got benched in the first place. And there are 2 reasons why we are on this play. Increased involvement, increased usage, increased everything for Theo Johnson in a very juicy matchup against the Bucks. Now we'll get into the matchup against the Bucks later. Theo Johnson, for those of you that don't know who he is, rookie tight end for the Giants. He's gone over 21.5 receiving yards in 5 of his last 6 games. And in all 5 games he went over, he actually got to 30. So I do think that there is some ladder ceiling potential for Theo Johnson. That's what's not currently available to the books, just the over 21.5 main line. And I get that all the numbers I'm going to give you are going to be with Daniel Jones at quarterback, so take that with a grain of salt. I do think that there is some logic to the backup quarterback coming in and immediately targeting the tight end position just out of like comfort. Tight ends line up closer to the line of scrimmage, closer to the quarterback. Easier target for the backup as opposed to throwing to the outside wide receiver. Now that's all conjecture, but I did just want to kind of preface that by saying I do like increased involvement in general for tight ends with backup quarterbacks, and the fact that all the stats I'm going to give you are going to be for Daniel Jones. But so the increased involvement for Theo Johnson. Again, he's gone over this number in 5 of 6 games and gotten 30 in all 5. If you look at the last 5 games specifically, he's played at least 85% of the snaps in all 5 of those games. And he's actually gotten to 90% of the snaps in 3 of those 5. And he's not just playing snaps, he's running routes. He's got a 71.7% route participation rate in the last 5 games. That's 11th among all tight ends. And I get that 11th doesn't sound like a lot, but when you only need to get to 22 receiving yards, 11th among tight ends is actually pretty good. And as I mentioned, very, very juicy matchup against this Bucks defense. The Bucks play zone at the highest rate in the NFL, and they also allow the most receiving yards to tight ends in the NFL as well. Since week 2, they've allowed the most receiving yards in the NFL to tight ends on the 4th most receptions as well. And I kind of like this as a yards play as opposed to receptions for Theo Johnson. Part of that is due to the Bucks defense. Part of that is due to Theo Johnson's just athletic score. He's a very athletic guy. He's more of a yards guy. And I mentioned the Bucks play zone defense at the highest rate in the NFL. Theo Johnson's quietly been the Giants' 2nd best receiver when facing zone defenses. He's only behind Malik Neighbors in terms of yards per route run against zone defenses. And his yards per route run number, would be the 11th most of all tight ends. So again, 11th most doesn't sound like a lot until you only need to get 22 receiving yards. So hopefully zone is a Theo Johnson thing and not a Daniel Jones thing, because it worked really well for Theo Johnson, and Malik Neighbors is the only one ahead of him, and he's not even going to be playing in this game, most likely. So tons of reasons to believe in Theo Johnson. He's a play that I might end up laddering. Just want to kind of see all the information that we have as the weekend goes on, but very much might ladder him. That's play number one. So play number two is a ladder play, and it's a Hunter Henry receptions ladder. So Patriots versus Dolphins game. I'm taking Hunter Henry 5+ receptions, plus 100 odds at DraftKings, 1 unit. Then I'm putting a half unit on him to get to 6+ receptions, plus 215 odds at Bet365. Then I'm also climbing an even higher ladder, getting him to 7+ receptions, plus 425 odds at Bet365, quarter unit on that bad boy. So 1 unit on the main line of 5+, and then a half, and then a quarter going up to 6 and 7. But I love this play for Hunter Henry, as if you couldn't tell. Patriots offense is gross. They're not good, but they've been more fun under Drake May, and Hunter Henry has quietly been incredibly involved this season, even dating back to when Jacoby Brissett was the quarterback, but even more so once Drake May took over the starting quarterback for the Patriots. On the entire season, Hunter Henry's actually run the most routes of the tight end position in the entire NFL. Now, running the most routes mostly just means that he stayed healthy. Like there are plenty of players that have a higher target rate and stuff than Hunter Henry. He's just been on the field a lot, so he's run a lot of routes. On the entire season, he has also received the 5th most targets at the tight end position as well. But if you just look at the 5 games in which Drake May has started, his numbers look a little bit better. His target rate in those 5 games, 19.8%. That would be the 5th highest target rate of all tight ends if you just extrapolated that out to the entire season. And it's much higher than his target rate normally is if you look at the entire season. So his target rate with Drake May is much higher than it was with Jacoby Brissett. Now, it's only been 3 games, but in those 3 games, Hunter Henry has recorded at least 5 receptions in 3 of those 5 games. And his reception numbers in those games, 8, 7, and 6. So it's all 3. He would have cashed the first or the second ladder of the 6+ receptions, and it's 2 of 3 that he would have cashed the last leg of our receptions ladder at the 7+ number. More importantly than just the receptions are the targets. 9, 8, and 9 targets are a lot for the tight end position, and he's generally tight ends have a higher catch rate in general than wide receivers. So 9, 8, 9 targets can get you 8, 7, 6 receptions, which makes sense. And with that type of target volume in general, great opportunity to at least get to the 5 number, the first leg of this play to cash. And then when you consider the matchup against the Dolphins, along with the increased usage, you can kind of see the ceiling outcome and why we're taking him up to 7 as well. Since week 3, the Dolphins have allowed the 2nd most receptions in the entire NFL to the tight end position. Now, Hunter Henry, I went back and forth whether it should be yards, whether it should be receptions. I like both, to be clear. The reason why I ended up going with receptions is because the Dolphins are generally a reception team as opposed to a yards team in terms of their defense. They're a lower ADOT. Like they keep everything in front of them, don't get beat deep, so they're more of a receptions team. They allow the 6th highest average depth of target, which is what ADOT means, in the entire NFL. So teams are generally throwing short against them, which leads to receptions. That is our second play of the video and also our first ladder play. Next up, we're going with George Kittle, 50+ receiving yards, plus 105 odds at Bet365. So a lot of tight ends I like for this slate. This is our 3rd pick, our 3rd tight end as well. Now, Kittle missed last week with a hammy injury. He said he's going to be back. I'm expecting him to be back. He has a great opportunity against the Packers defense that is generally below average guarding the tight end position. And Kittle's had a very, very good year. He's got the 2nd most receiving yards of all tight ends. He's gone over this number in 6 of the 8 games that he's played. Both games he went under. He still had 40 receiving yards. So the floor is still there for George Kittle. He's also got a ceiling as well when he had 92 and 128 receiving yards against the Chiefs and the Cowboys, respectively. And again, 2nd most receiving yards of all tight ends this year in the NFL. And that's also with missing a couple games. He's missed 2 games, still got the 2nd most receiving yards. He's 4th in the NFL in tight end route participation. So unlike Hunter Henry, yards are a play for Kittle as opposed to receptions. George Kittle has the 2nd highest average depth of target of all tight ends that have at least 30 targets, which is kind of the low barometer to get out like 10 target, 1 reception, fluky type of players. Only Mark Andrews has a higher ADOT than him, but Kittle has significantly more targets than him. So obviously the more targets you get, the more those numbers are going to normalize. Kittle still has a lot of targets, and he's still got a very high average depth of target. 5th best target rate, the best yards per route run, the best yards per target of all tight end positions. Again, showing you why this is a yards play. And he's cleared this number in both games without Brandon Ayuk this season. And Brandon Ayuk, he's out for the year. So generally the 49ers offense, the way it goes is in one of their big studs, meaning like Ayuk and Debo in the past have been out. That's when the usage rate has increased a lot for George Kittle. Even though Juwan Jennings has been phenomenal this year, that's mostly come at the expense of Debo as opposed to Kittle. So now with no Ayuk equals higher Kittle. In terms of the matchup, from week 3 on, the Packers have allowed the 11th most receiving yards, specifically to tight ends, on the 6th most receptions. So they're not like the worst matchup in the world for tight end props, but 11th most is definitely not a defense you'd be scared of, especially 6th most receptions. And Kittle, for whatever reason, he loves playing against the Packers. He's gone over this number each of the last 3 times that the Packers have played the 49ers, including last year's playoff matchup where he had 81 receiving yards. And again, he's cleared the 50 number in all 3 games. And I get that that there might be some uncertainty with the quarterback situation. Brock Purdy, he's been limited in practice with shoulder soreness. What I've heard is that a little bit of concern, but mostly that it's just precautionary and that he's going to be fine, that he's going to be slinging it with no issues. They're just kind of giving him some rest. So I'm not really scared of the quarterback situation, any injuries or anything like that with Brock Purdy, the quarterback. So I kind of want to get that out there. That's play number 3. Lastly, 4th and final pick of the video, our second ladder play as well, our non-tight end ladder play, Nico Collins, 80 plus receiving yards, plus 105 odds at Fanatics. Nico Collins, 100 plus receiving yards, half unit, plus 210 odds at Bet365. So 1 unit on the mainline leg, half unit on the ladder climb to 100. Not going above 100 because we still need to see Nico Collins play well returning from injury. But I think he's going to have a good game in this matchup against the Titans. Now, I got burned taking Nico's receiving yards on Monday Night Football. It was his first game back from the hamstring injury that he suffered. But he also had a 70-yard touchdown called back on like the first play of the game. That would have changed everything. So I will admit the concerning part about backing Nico is he only played 47% of the snaps. But the reports out of Houston is that he's going to go back to his normal snap rate, which was about 80% before the hamstring injury. And it's easy to forget because it's been over a month now. Nico Collins was terrorizing the NFL before he got hurt. Prior to the game in which he injured himself, he had at least 80 receiving yards in all 4 games. And he actually hit 100 or more receiving yards in 3 of those 4 games as well. And you look at the game in which he got hurt in the first quarter, the first drive of the game. Only played 13% of the snaps. He still had 78 receiving yards in that game because he got hurt on a long bomb touchdown. And then last week, he had a long touchdown. It wasn't a bomb. It was a screen pass that he took to the house. He had that called back. But it just kind of shows you the big play potential of Nico Collins. And even though last week had a little bit of a down week, he still leads the NFL in receiving yards per game. He has the 8th highest targets per route run. He's number 1 in yards per route run, and he's number 6th in yards per target. So all numbers look very good for Nico Collins. And generally, you would not want to target this Tennessee defense, right? They have an all-pro cornerback, L'Jarius Sneed, who's an absolute stud. He's out for the year. Now, he's been out for a little bit, so the numbers have started to normalize. But without him, he's the type of cornerback that can shut down a number 1 wide receiver. He's out. With him out, Nico should have a ton of success in this game. I think he gets to the 100-yard mark to cash out our ladder play as well. And that's all we got. 4 plays plus 2 ladder plays for you guys to lock in. Remember to like the video, comment, subscribe. And then I mentioned it at the beginning, but check out the Dub Club if you're interested in getting all my plays sent to you for $5 a month. Get sent to your phone via text, email, or Telegram. So if you don't always want to watch the YouTube videos, or by the time you watch them and the odds change, that's when I push people to the Dub Club. Only $5 a month because, again, you can't get everything for free on either YouTube or Twitter, but we want to give people the option. And that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.